when I talk to other feminists about the men's rights movement, they always say, well, you have to admit, though, that women have been more discriminated against.
No. See, that doesn't even make any logical sense. Women have been more discriminated against. Well, when you are discriminating against someone as compared to somebody else, okay, you cannot have sexism against women without having sexism against men, right? You can't, right? Whether it's positive or negative sexism, right, is going to differ, right? It's not the same as, say, black and white, right, where you can have all kinds of negative discrimination against black people and positive discrimination in favor of white people, or Germans and Jews, or what, Aryans and Jews, or whoever, right, like tribal groups. But when it comes to men and women who have always lived their lives together, there was never some society of only women, and then men came along and colonized them and enslaved them all, and it was like two tribes of people. No, we've always been one tribe. There's no tribalism between men and women in that way. And so sexism works in such a way that sometimes the exact same perception of women that hinders them. So you have Anna Kasparian saying that it is difficult sometimes because people don't always take her seriously because she's fairly young and she's pretty. And one of the things that she does, because what is necessary for women to be sexually attractive to men is to enhance their youth, right? When you look as young as you can to be as sexually attractive to men as you can and demonstrate your sexual attractiveness to other women, okay, so you can compete in that hierarchy because there is one, you are also emphasizing the fact that you are not wise and you have no experience because you're young, right? And young people don't have that, right? But this is the price women pay in order to be considered sexually attractive, right? And that's important to them, and it should be important to them because sex is a huge part of life, right? Now, so she will be taken less seriously in that context. But when it comes to the context of if she's harming someone, or if she's angry, or she's frustrated and she hits her child, right? People are not going to take her seriously the way they would take a man seriously in those contexts, right? People will try to make excuses for her. They'll try to say, well, you know, she's really stressed out, and there was not really any harm done. You know, I mean, it wasn't really that bad. And they've done studies that have shown that people witnessing the exact same actions, right? If it's a man or a woman, they will always, always judge the woman's actions as less severe, less threatening, less intimidating, less violent than if it's a man doing the exact same thing, right? Because they do not take her seriously in that way. And that has a whole bunch of benefits, right? Less jail time, less likelihood of being arrested, you know, less likelihood of being beaten up because you sort of were in a mood to start something, right? And you were, you know, jabbing your finger in somebody's chest, right? If you're a man and you do that to another man, he takes you seriously and knocks your block off, right? If you're a woman, you can get away with doing it because you aren't taken seriously that way, and so it protects women from a lot of harm, right? And when you look at men, it's the other way around, right? Men are taken more seriously when they speak authoritatively, when they're a news anchor, when they're selling high-ticket items like cars, when they're doing the narration for the commercials, right? It's either a man or it's a woman with a deeper voice, because a deep voice has definite psychological effects on people. And so you have these different ways that men and women are viewed that can play out as positives or negatives depending on the context, right? So you can't even say there's positive discrimination and negative discrimination, right? What you have to do is you have to say if there is X sexism against women, then there is, by definition, X sexism against men. Like there's an equal amount of sexism against men. There's an equal amount of discrimination, whether it plays out positively or negatively. Look at how we think men are capable and self-sufficient. We think they're so capable and self-sufficient that we can discriminate against them under the law with affirmative action for women, right?
Mm-hmm.
We assume those assumptions that feminists tell us are privilege, male privilege. We assume that men are so awesome that they aren't going to hurt if they don't get the job, right? They're not going to suffer if they don't get that job, right? And so it's okay to discriminate against them by law and discriminate in favor of women because, as feminists would describe it, we see women as so incapable, which is negative, except we're willing to give them benefits because we see them that way.
And I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I know you're good at countering. But what I'm gathering is that even if we look at one area that could be discrimination or just a way that our gender is feeling unhappy with their role, or say youth for women, it's like, oh darn, when you're only being looked at for your body, but when it's to your benefit, then you don't complain. So I understand that, but when we look at rights, I mean, there are many countries, not many, but there are some countries that deny girls the ability to get an education.
Most of those countries also have issues with boys getting an education. I actually saw a poster by a feminist that was put up by a feminist group, and it said, X many million children worldwide are denied an education. Half of them are girls. I'm like, yeah, no duh. Okay. Look at Boko Haram. I mean, you must have heard.
Yeah.